Radio Rahim here with Michael Buffer, the voice of boxing and my personal historian. That's the thing. Sometimes I read these comments, most of them hurt my feelings, but every now and then something nice is said. It's usually about you. And what people are really impressed by is the volume of knowledge you have in the sport and firsthand witnessing so many epic moments, epic nights. It can't help but give you a unique perspective. But what I want to touch on, which is not necessarily happening on this card, but what's been happening recently in the women's boxing, which is, in the history of the sport, is a very new advent. This was not a thing for most of the history of the sport. But right now, it's kind of spiking. I'm curious your thoughts on women's boxing, if there's someone out there that impresses you in particular.
Yeah, of course, I'm impressed with, Katie. I mean, she's doing such a great job. She's now a unified champion with 2 belts. Going back a little bit, though, like you mentioned, women's boxing was like, it was kind of one-sided. Layla Ali was so dominant that there weren't opponents. You didn't have good matches. Now you're starting to see it. You're seeing more young girls go to the gym and training and enjoying the sport. It's in the Olympics, so we have Olympic champions coming forward and turning professional and amateur world champions moving up in the ranks. So it's pretty exciting and competitive. And we have these women with these great personalities and stories behind them, and it's pretty exciting. This coming Saturday night, American viewers on HBO are going to see for the first time women on HBO World Championship Boxing with Cecilia Brækhus defending her title. So it's great. I love it. And I love it because we have good matches now. When it was one-sided, when you had Lucia Riker, who just was so dominant, nobody could even compete with her. It's too bad she's not around now. She's retired, but man, what a mix that would be.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you've done women's main events, right? Like overseas. I don't even know where. I guess we're overseas now, technically.
But Norway with Lucia Brækhus, Cecilia Brækhus, and a fantastic athlete, the only undefeated world champion in all of boxing right now.
In that moment, because you're the other than the referee, you're the closest to that face-off, closest to that final energy before the bell rings. Is there any difference between the men and the women?
Yeah, well, the natural, normal difference, of course. But I mean, like, as far as intensity and sportsmanship and desire and will to win, and no, I mean, they have it all. They are athletes that come to try and win and do their best.
World champions is a medal that every fighter wants to be able to wear around their waist, technically, but as something that defines them. And in a fight like this, there are no championships on the line. Neither one of these guys are even in line, really.
I love that. I love the fact that this fight coming up Saturday night with the rematch with Bellew and Haye, no belts, no championships. No 6 guys standing in the ring holding belts, in suits. I mean, this is 2 guys that apparently don't like each other too much. It's a grudge match, and they're 2 big-time heavyweights fighting each other without any belt or commission involved. And that's what boxing is all about. A good match, a good fight, without any politics involved.
To sell something like that, it almost has to be a grudge match.
It better be a grudge match, yeah.
And I think this one definitely fits that bill. It was a grudge match the first time by the time the first bell rung, but now these guys really are personally involved and invested in not liking each other, and as Bellew would say, wanting to punch each other in the face. What about some of the best grudge matches that you've been in the ring for before this? Is there anyone that stands out, or any particular matchup that was like, whoa, this was really personal?
I'd have to sit. You're just throwing this at me, so I can't. I'm sort of pumped up for this one, and I can't really think of any right now. But I'm sure. I think when Hagler and Leonard fought, it wasn't a grudge match like they hated each other, but it was like a grudge match like Hagler was tired of having to play that game where Ray, who's like a brilliant manipulative guy that got everything he wanted, glove size, 15 rounds was out, 12 rounds. I mean, just And Hagler was like, just get him in the ring with me, and there was a bit of a grudge mentality there on his side. But, I'm sure I've been involved in a few. I'd have to go and sit down and rack my brains a little. When you get older, you start to forget things. It's like I went to the doctor the other day, and he said, well, I got bad news. You have heart disease and Alzheimer's. And I said, whoo, thank goodness I don't have heart disease. But anyway...
Tip your waitresses. We'll be here all week, ladies and gentlemen. Tip your waitresses. Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, though, because that was a part of the press conference here today, this debate as to whether or not a fighter can get better as he gets older. Is David Haye at his pinnacle and whatnot? Do you have an opinion on that? I mean, I'll tell you right off, I don't think fighters get better as they get. They may reach a peak somewhere in their youth, but once you're out of your youth, it seems to be pretty reliable that you're on the decline. Yeah. Is it possible that a guy at 37 can be at his peak?
37, maybe not. I think heavyweights definitely are at their best in today's sport. The way they train today and everything are at their best after age 30, size-wise, physicality, and everything. I think that for heavyweights that doesn't always apply to other sports or other divisions. But that part of the debate in the press conference was after the better part of the press conference. They were just was like they were arguing over well, you're not as good as you used to be, and neither am I, and and everybody's falling asleep by then. You just wanted to see them take the pictures and get off the stage. But it was that
shove woke everybody up, though.
Yeah, well, Tony. I mean, you talk about somebody who is intense. Whew. I mean, here's a guy that. Man, he's like the most kind, loving, loyal dad and family man. And if you know him, he's always got the hug and how you doing. And when it comes to fight time, I mean, he is intense. He is really intense. I thought that David Haye seemed a lot more relaxed because I think he's really in a comfort zone with the way he is physically. He feels really good, which will be an important factor in the fight. So 50-50 this fight.
Well, I don't know how you're feeling, but you're looking damn good, my friend. And if there was anybody I could say gets better with age, it is this young man right here. Michael Buffer, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, man. It's interesting to get that perspective with your breadth of knowledge. Thank you for sharing that with us. The audience always appreciates it. Radio Rahim in London with Michael Buffer.